Hey there guys, and welcome back to another FPV guide video. Today we're going to be revisiting Yuneec's Typhoon H. This time we're looking at the Typhoon H Pro. The Pro has importantly an obstacle avoidance system that is frankly brand new in the way it works to multi-rotors. It is an Intel and Yuneec play together, and we're going to see that it's a very effective system. So first of all, we already looked at the Typhoon before, so I'm going to put a little click link right here on the screen. So if you want to look at the original Typhoon H unbox, please click on that link. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of hurry through some of the more interesting new features on the Typhoon H Pro from Yuneec. And of course, here is the hardware. The way this thing showed up was in a big brown box, and when I popped it out of the box, the backpack here is actually inside. So the Typhoon H Pro comes fully loaded with the backpack and everything, and just kind of a color band on the belly. So if you turn on the front here, it shows it comes with a free Wizard, and on the side here it has some of the information about it, and on the back more information, blah, 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 blah. Let's take a look inside. There we go. One of the cool things with this backpack is it's actually like a real backpack. It has got pockets on both sides right here, so you can actually stuff your water bottles and stuff in. And before I crack it open, let me just show you up on top here. There is a fairly large space. I don't know how you travel, but this would be enough for a couple of t-shirts and jeans for me if I were to travel somewhere, stay in a hotel. So I could probably get away with traveling with just this case. Now, when we crack this thing open, it is zippered up here from the top. So here's the zippers. And what we're gonna do is just kind of crack it open like this. It's still a big case. There. And here is the inside. And what you will notice if you have looked at these before is that they have changed the layout of this significantly. Now you have to remove the batteries in order to take the aircraft out, and over here is a box with the charger. Those have now all been moved, so they're actually sitting over where the skids are. The result is you've got a much more compact travel case. The previous case was about this much longer. It was easier to get to some of the things, however, it was harder to travel with. So they have improved the case. And let's start digging the stuff out of here. So pulling the things out, here is the propellers. Last time we got them in a nice little bag with a zip string. However, this time they come in a case. Inside the case here, we find a handful of propellers. Let me just pull them all out. It's not quite 2 sets, and as you know, I always like to have 2 sets of propellers in a brand new kit. It comes with a full set plus 4. Now I got to tell you, even though I do like to have 2 full sets of propellers, having 4 extras is a lot, and chances are you're not gonna break 4 on your first outing. So this is fine. Now, not having the little zip back anymore, we would have to store them in this hole kind of like that when we travel. So just make sure you don't bend them, and I would probably take a rubber band and kind of grab a rubber band around the props here. So let's put the props over here. Next, here's the charger. It comes in the accessory box here. And you're gonna wanna keep this box because it's pretty sturdy and it fits into this custom-made hole in the case here. So that's a good place to store stuff. And it opens like this, so it's easy to keep it in one piece. Inside it you find one of my favorite things about Yuneec. All Yuneec aircraft ships with a cigarette lighter charger cable. You can see the end down there, and up here is the cigarette lighter. This is brilliant because they come ready to charge in your car. I don't know why all manufacturers don't do it, but it is a super thumbs up for Yuneec. The other thing you of course find inside the box here is the charger brick for the charger. Now, it also comes with this monstrous power cable here, and I gotta tell you, these are big. And one of my favorite little things in the world is these little things here, which is basically a little plug, and they can be bought with different adapters. The one in the picture here is not the right one, but you can get them with any adapter you want, and it allows you to plug a pair of plugs directly into the brick and no more need for carrying around a big cable. So I use that on pretty much everything I have that requires a cable. I buy a little pair of legs to make it more compact. Over on the other side here, you have the charger brick. It has a custom shape down here, and if I grab one of the batteries, you'll see that this battery cannot go in both ways, so it can only go in the correct way. And by the way, make sure you push them down pretty hard, because if you don't, they have a tendency to giving you a charging error, which is a blinking blue light right here. And if you get that, it is usually because the battery is not pushed all the way down. Now to start charging, you simply grab the power cable, insert it on the side here. And it is worth noticing, if you look at the other side, here's a USB plug, and here is an included USB cable in the case. That cable will connect to the ST16 remote control, so you can charge the remote while you're charging batteries. Before we move away from talking about batteries, you'll notice that there is 2 spaces here for batteries. And if you're not bringing all the accessories, you could easily travel with 4+ batteries, and you can of course insert a battery right on the end of the aircraft here. I'm just gonna pop it in right now. There, that's how you get the battery in. Let's get this thing out. Over here we have one more battery. So the new Pro kit comes with 2 batteries. I really like that because frankly, 1 battery is never enough. And out comes the aircraft. We just pull it out gently like that, and we're gonna put it down right here while we get the rest of the stuff out. Over here is the Vizard. The Vizard is one of the coolest accessories for the Yuneec because it's a complete remote controller in a stick. So you can stick it on top of your backpack, hook it to your hiking gear or your skiing gear or something for follow me video from the H. The other thing you can do with this thing that is very cool is if you have a friend to control the camera, you can pair the Vizard to the controller, and you can now take over control of the camera with the Vizard while you are flying the aircraft using the ST16. So you are able to use this as a secondary controller, and your friend can look at the screen on the ST16 to see how the camera is being moved. So up here is the controller, the ST16, and that one has been modified. So here is the ST16. I'm gonna take it out and we'll talk about it in a second. And there is a sun shield that goes on like this and goes onto the ST16 so that you can see in bright sun. I'm gonna put that over here. And of course there is the obligatory manuals. But before we get into the manuals, let's take a look at the little box here. That comes with a couple of extras. Let's try to pull them out. Here is a USB cable. There's nothing new about a USB cable. And the thing that dropped out was a little lens cleaner. Hold on to that, you're gonna want lens cleaner. And I actually have been buying little small canister of spray lens cleaner from the guys that sell me my glasses, because that helps to get dust off when you're out flying. Finally, in here is a little card that contains your manual and also the included micro SD card for the camera. So we'll put that back in here for now. That was the micro SD card. Here is the lens cleaner cloth. And finally, here is the actual USB cable. So that, I don't think there's any need to look more at that. We're just gonna put that back where it goes. And with that, we're gonna get rid of the case. I can't forget to say thank you to Frank at carolinadrones.com for providing the loaner test unit here. And he has these in stock. He also has HDMI monitors, headset monitors in stock so that you can put them on your head and get video from the controller. So Frank has that. Do check out his website at carolinadrones.com. Now let's take a look in the folder with manuals here. And so in here what we find is a Typhoon Vizard user manual. You're going to want to read that because the Wizard is a completely separate system and it's not uncomplicated. You need to understand how it works before you start flying it. The next thing here you have obviously seen before. It's in all the new cases with drones these days. It's the Know Before You Fly, and it suggests that you go to knowbeforeyouFly.org to understand the basic rules for flying a drone in the US. So here is all the information, the basic information you need to know, but also make sure you go to knowbeforeyouFly.org. The next one here is really important. Read through that also. It's the obstacle avoidance limitation. One of the things you need to remember with obstacle avoidance is you have to turn it on after you're in the air. And you should be out at 30 feet or about 10 meters from yourself before you turn this on. So do not turn on the obstacle avoidance when there is an obstacle in front of it, as it's going to cause an immediate reaction. You don't want to force the system to turn on. Turn it on when it has at least 15 feet or 5 meters to an actual obstacle, preferably more, so that it is on before it gets into the range where it starts considering that obstacle. Anyway, a couple of other important things. It can have a hard time seeing small lines like thin branches, and it also doesn't like an all white wall or an all black wall. If you had a big building with an all white wall or black wall or some kind of wall or mirrored wall without any kind of texture, it is possible that the obstacle avoidance system would not recognize it as an obstacle because it is looking for texture. So you need to make sure there's some kind of texture. Now a tree full of leaves will obviously be seen easily. Let's put this one down. You do need to read that before you start flying this, because otherwise you could hurt your system or hurt some people. Here's all the stuff that is included along with customer service contact, and it's one of the amazing things with Yuneec is they come with 6 months warranty. And finally, here is the cheat sheet for all the blinkers. All these different color code blinkers is what you see on the back of the aircraft, and when you see those, this can tell you what they mean. Of course, most of the time you also get that information on the radio right there in the telemetry section, but if it doesn't, you should still know what the aircraft is saying. So be familiar with some of these blinkers so that you can recognize them while you're flying. Here is the Typhoon Quick Start Guide. We're just going to jump over that. Here's some more about how to set it up between single mode and team mode. And here is the cheat sheet for the Wizard buttons. So, moving that out of the way and moving to the aircraft. Let's get these arms out of the way here. They come up like that. Now, if you look down here, you can see there is a kind of a lens cap on the camera. So the first thing we do is we pull out on that, like that. Here is the protector. When you're done flying, put this thing back on, as it's going to prevent the camera from bouncing and otherwise damaging its little bearings, because there's a whole lot of little bearings in these gimbals and you want to be very protective with those. On the front of this here, you can see there's a film, so we're just going to pull on that and there is the camera. Now, if you look really careful, you can actually see there's a little filter here, and I don't know if you can see that really clearly here. I'm going to try to hold up to the detailed camera. There's a little filter here, and I can pop that off by just putting my fingers on these two little knobs, and it kind of takes just a twist, and here comes the filter. So getting it off, and there it is. You can see that little filter here, and I already got a fingerprint on it. So you want to make sure you keep this clean, and that's why it came with a lens cloth. And like I told you, I actually use a little bit of optical spray to clean these things. And I'm going to put it down and tell you why I'm so thrilled with this having filters. Because I use these freewheel filters from carolinadrones.com. Just go to the website and type in Yuneec H filters, and you're going to get these up. Inside the filter kit here is a whole number of filters. I'm just grab one. And there you go. And this is a graduated color filter. Can you see that? So you can see the top has like an orange to help me really make for a rich sunset. I usually use the graduated ND gray, but this one's here basically on the back, it has a little knob here, 2 little hooks, and it allows me to put it right back in. And I twist it and now it's locked in place, and the next thing I do, the filter actually turns on its own mount so that you can get the horizon right. I better go ahead and take that off and put the original filter back on. So that's the graduated ND filters. Now, if you have been watching some of my other videos, you'll know that I usually use graduated filters. My preference is, of course, to use the gray. It's not colored, so it's a little harder to see. Here's a gray and here's a blue that has a blue up on top of the image. Some people always use ND filters, and what you want to make sure when you film and to get a good image quality is that the shutter speed does not max out, because if the shutter speed maxes out, then you're going to burn the image, and that's when you need an ND filter. Most of my flying is done at sunrise and sunset to get the really nice, low, interesting light. So there's not a lot of light, so that's why I mostly just want the ND filter that dampens the sky a little bit and gives me more light in the ground. That's why I use these things, but if you're flying in the midday out in the desert, obviously you're gonna use a regular ND filter or a circular polarizer to really crank the brightness down so that it matches your camera. When you shoot for video, it's really important to always keep your ISO as low as possible, as that gives you the cleaner shot. So keep a low ISO and then match your shutter speed to make sure you don't burn out important details. Well, it's gonna put this away. These filters comes in a nice little filter pouch. So right here, that's my filters. And let's look at the real goodies. Right up here, the thing we have not seen from Yuneec before. And on top here is the 2 ultrasonic obstacle avoidance that came with the standard Yuneec. However, below is the RealSense obstacle avoidance, and I gotta tell you, this is an amazing technology. It is basically 2 high-definition cameras that creates a 3D mesh or an object of the world around this aircraft. That means that it can calculate the distance to these objects and it can avoid them. The best way to really easily demonstrate this, Thomas in Germany did a bit of video, and he did give me permission to show that to you. So if you click on the screen here, you can go to more of his videos. I'm just going to put a link up. But here you can see he put his Yuneec H Pro up in follow me mode. So he was obviously using the visit controller in his pocket properly, or maybe he was just holding it in his hand. Then he started walking down between some trees, and look at this. The aircraft is flying up to the tree and then it slides to the side to get around the tree. And he was really trying to annoy it, so he kept zigzagging between these trees. And there's absolutely no doubt, you can see how the aircraft is not crashing. It is flying zigzag to avoid crashing into things. And that is what this obstacle system is doing, which is absolutely amazing. The other thing that obstacle system works with is when you're flying in smart mode. That is where when you move the stick right, the aircraft moves to your right, and when you move the stick out, it moves to your away from you, etc. That's the smart mode. With the legs up, the camera will stay locked and the aircraft will point itself in the direction it's moving, so that the obstacle avoidance will always be pointing in its moving direction. Now, to be perfectly honest, when you're using the controller and you're flying, shooting video, I don't really think this obstacle avoidance is super necessary, because honestly, I don't fly into stuff all the time. However, because the Wizard here is part of the Yuneec H Pro system, this obstacle avoidance is simply indispensable, because with the Wizard and the Smart IntelliSense obstacle avoidance, you can actually do meaningful follow me video. All other multirotors up to today that had follow me still required you to look out for trees to avoid them flying into a tree, flying into a pole, flying into a flag, simply because they didn't see where it was, they were just following you. With the IntelliSense, the aircraft sees the tree and the flag and the pole. So that means you can now focus on your downhill skiing, your skateboarding, and the IntelliSense is going to avoid that tree that you just sipped under while you were skateboarding. That is a feature that no other multi-rotor has at this point in time. So it's completely unique to the Yuneec, pun intended. So that is the system. Now, with this one, we also get another feature that I actually like more, because I usually don't do follow me. I do fly with the radio almost all the time. On the belly here, you can see the downward facing camera that looks down and tracks texture on the ground. And here is the two ultrasonic sensors that sends out an ultrasonic sound so that the aircraft can maintain altitude, and the little tracking camera will keep it flying in the correct space even if it has no GPS signal. I really love that feature. And that was a feature, of course, we saw first time about a year ago on some multirotors. Now it's starting to be on a lot of multirotors. And this feature, together with the IntelliSense feature, makes this a very solid unit that you can use indoor, and you can also do meaningful follow me flying with this. Now, the downside is IntelliSense only works so fast. So if you're going to do 80 miles an hour downhill, I'm sorry, it will not be able to keep up. So if you're going to do that, you may have to plan a little better so that you don't need to use that. You can turn it off, and the follow me will work faster if you turn off the obstacle avoidance. But it will have no problems keeping up with a marathon runner or somebody jogging between trees. Honestly, between trees may be a little too much. There should be some kind of a clear path. And that was what we saw in Thomas's video. And here's another little demo that kind of from Yuneec shows how when you go somewhere it can't go, the aircraft is going to find another way to go over or next to it. But there has to be a way. So if you're going through a forest with incredibly dense trees, this is obviously not the right way to move or park your camera. Now, before I'm done telling you about new stuff on the aircraft, there is one other thing. You'll remember my friend George and I, we were modifying and putting big antennas on the Yuneec H about a month ago. Well, guess what? We're not the only one that was thinking they needed better antennas. And if you can, looking right here, can you see that? Here is a antenna, and there's actually one on each side. So both of the internal antennas on the Yuneec H Pro has now been dropped down, which means they're clear of the battery, and you're getting a much better telemetry and control link signal than what you were getting when the antenna was inside the body. Huge thumbs up to Yuneec for constantly evolving and improving their aircrafts. And somebody was thinking Yuneec was copying George and me. Honestly, I don't think they did. Because think about it for a minute. We did this about a month ago, and here is a new plastic part, relocated different parts inside. So obviously, Yuneec had to have this ready at about the same time George and I made our modification. So I don't think they copied our modification. Let's move on to the radio. So here is the new ST16 Pro. And you'll notice there is more antennas on the top. There was, when George and I looked inside, we found that there is diversity antennas for the control link, and on the Pro, Yuneec has chosen to put these antennas on the outside. They also upgraded the antenna right here. You can see that now on top of the Pro is a patch antenna for the video link. Very importantly, this antenna needs to point towards the aircraft. So when you're flying, you should not fly behind yourself. You want to make sure this type antenna should always be pointing to the aircraft because it's flat and it is directional that way. So while you fly, this little patch antenna points to the aircraft, and these two antennas should be vertical. So they should be standing up as straight as possible while you are flying. So for me, this would be about the angle. Before we turn it on, I'm going to show you how the propellers work. The propeller comes with silver ring or no ring, little marking right here. So the silver ring matches to the white propeller top. And the way we put that on is very simple. We just put it right over the matching hook, push it down, and then we twist it until it clicks and the propeller is put on. Let's do one more. Here's the black one and here's the black propeller. So we put it on top, we twist the motor until it can go down, and then we push a little more, and now it's locked in place. To remove these, we just basically push down and lift up. Do the other one, here comes the next one. We push down on the little button, twist the prop and lift it up, and the props has been removed. I am of course removing the propellers because I don't want them on the aircraft when I turn it on, to show you some more functions next. Turning on the aircraft, the first thing we want to do is always to turn on the remote first. Remote is on. While this is now starting up, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the aircraft. Just hold down the button. When you hear the brrr thing, it has been turned on. We have established a control link, and the system is telling us right now that we don't have GPS, which is of course not really surprising, being we're indoors. And you can see we have a black screen, so what we're waiting for right now is the camera to start up and connect to the ST16 so that we'll get video. Woohoo! There is our video. So now we've got video. One of the things I've always really been liking about the Yuneec aircrafts is that they come with an included tablet. So here you have a full-on tablet with your video link from the aircraft and all your control settings, including you can set up the exposure for the camera, white balance, and I always recommend using a white balance. Pick a good white balance because there is nothing worse than panning around from say the ocean to the green forest and have the white balance change because the camera now sees more green than blue. So pick a good color balance based on what kind of weather it is outside, and that is how you're going to get the most consistent video and pictures. Now there is another cool little feature up here. You'll see that there is an HDMI plug on top of the controller, and I have been using that with my Fat Shark goggles and also with a big old head-mounted display. Let me show you how that works. So this is the Brad, and he is wearing one of the Towstow head-mounted displays. To get video, we grab an HDMI cable and we plug that directly into here. Now we have video out. So here's our cable, and the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna plug it in right up here on the corner. Let's see if I got that the right way. There we go. And now we should have video. So there it is. Now you can see the screen, and of course I can real quickly demonstrate while you're looking at that. If I go here and I click on Sunny, I can change that. I can click on my exposure settings here, and you should be able to see that now I can go to minus EV1, or I can drag the other way. Here's minus 1.5, and the picture is getting darker. I can go plus 2, and notice how the picture is getting wider. And you see also all the other features. So there you see how using a head-mounted display that accept HDMI input, you're able to fly FPV using the Typhoon H. And I should hurry up and mention, this is actually a unit I got from carolinadrones.com. Frank does have a special with the H and the included head-mounted display for flying FPV. Also, when you fly FPV, be really sure that you realize there can be as much as half a second or more of video delay sometimes, depending on the situation. So never fly into something where the timing is critical. Usually when I fly with this setup, I try to fly a long straight push where I'm not gonna be close to the bushes. If you're gonna do zigzag between something, don't do it with using video out of this system, because this is a video system, it is not an FPV system. Well, having taken a look at the basic video and the video out here, let's take a real quick look at the systems here. Over on the side here, we have the camera's tilt, and you can see how the camera is changing angle. We also have, here is the forward follow mode. However, if you want 360 video with the legs up, you can push this all the way down and you can use the switch right here to turn the camera. I'm putting it back where I usually have it. Over here we have the flight modes, the most important switch on this aircraft. When you start, always start in angle mode. Don't start in smart mode. With smart mode, you should be 30 feet away from the aircraft before you engage smart mode, and there should be clear around it. In the middle position is where you should always start. Once you're in the air and there's clear around it, you can go to smart mode. Also, when you're in air and there's clear around the aircraft, you can switch on the obstacle avoidance by flipping this switch all the way down. It's now telling me, warning, it cannot be turned on because there's something right in front of it. So we're going to leave that back up. Now, of course, we can't forget the return to home mode. So here's a flight mode switch again. Up is smart, middle is angle, and you should always start in angle. Flip it all the way down and it's going to return to home and land. On the side here, and for you guys who are new to flying, you'll really appreciate that, is the turtle hair switch. This is the speed dial. By sliding that up and down, when it's all the way down, the aircraft moves fairly slowly, and as you push it forward, you get the option for more and more speed. Honestly, when you are new, don't get carried away. Simply use it down here in slow so that you have control over the aircraft. And that's another feature that I really like. It's standard on all the Yuneec aircrafts because it makes this aircraft easier to get into for a new user. And of course, the fact that it's already set up, the tablet is installed, there's nothing else you need to fly. Everything is in this box. Before I wrap up, I should take a quick look at the value here. I really like the Yuneec H and the Yuneec H Pro as well. They're good value for the money, and I'm going to tell you why. There is other aircraft on the market for more and less money. What you get with this particular aircraft here is, of course, you get the hexacopter that is capable of sustaining a hit to a propeller and still fly and land safely. That's one important feature if you're flying around other people. It also doesn't look like a white helicopter with 4 propellers that almost everybody has seen. So it gives you the appearance of a more professional aircraft, and honestly, that is a good thing when you're shooting, say, real estate. Now, more importantly, you get the retract so the legs can come up using the switch here, meaning you can hang the aircraft in the air and you can do 360-degree video just using the controller for the camera over here to get video as something passes. Or you could fly and you can have an operator turn the camera to look backwards and follow something. So you can do things with this aircraft that can only be done with a camera that can rotate 360 degrees. And finally, it comes with the Yuneec H Wizard. And honestly, that is a wonderful system because you don't have to put this big controller in your backpack. All you bring with you for your weekend is this thing to control your aircraft. That makes it a lot easier to travel with, and it's a lot easier to hike with because you don't have to lug this thing around with you. And of course, you can't mention Follow Me and the Wizard without remembering the intelligent obstacle avoidance, smart obstacle avoidance. It's gonna fly up to an obstacle, fly over it, fly around it to follow you without crashing. The Yuneec H Pro with the available Wizard controller and the intelligent obstacle avoidance system is alone on the market with this kind of feature. And if you're looking to do sports videos and follow me, frankly, this is probably the most capable system on the market at this time. So that is why I'm really liking the Yuneec H Pro. Well guys, that's about it. I haven't flown this yet, so I'm gonna be back with some flight video for you. In the meantime, as far as I'm concerned, this system with the Wizard controller is really the only system I'm aware of on the market that provides actual smart obstacle avoidance. There's nothing else out there that does the intelligent smart obstacle avoidance, the 3D mapping of the environment it's flying in, and the ability to choose to go around or over an obstacle. There's simply nothing out there that does that. We have seen a lot of Kickstarters saying they're going to be doing it, but we have yet to see any one of them actually deliver it. And there's no doubt Yuneec, working together with Intel on this system here, have added an enormous value in terms of this technology. So if you're looking for something with real obstacle avoidance, at the moment the Yuneec H Pro is the only ticket in town. So if you're looking for that, that's the one to take a look at. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, this video was made possible by Frank at carolinadrones.com. So please go click and take a look at carolinadrones.com. Also take a look at some of the videos from Thomas in Germany. He is a firefighter and has done some really cool obstacle avoidance videos with his Yuneec H Pro. And so click here to check out his channel. And also, of course, subscribe for more videos. I'm gonna go take this flying and, well, try not to crash it. So stay tuned for more videos and subscribe. Thank you.